Welcome. White Birch Wellness presents Train Your Brain, a guide to understanding and rewiring your mind. I'm Wendy Francis, board certified health coach. As a health coach, I empower my clients to optimize their brain health, enhance focus, and boost mental resilience. By strengthening the mind, we unlock the ability to break through performance blocks, elevate cognitive function, and keep the brain sharp, preventing cognitive decline before it starts. Whether you're an athlete striving for peak performance or someone looking to reclaim control over your life, I guide you in developing the mental clarity and strength necessary to thrive and live your best life. In this ebook, we're going to have an introduction to your brain and understanding it a little bit better, maybe why you're stuck in a certain habit, and identifying what needs to change, as well as being able to break that habit and the autopilot loop that you're probably in. So, are you ready to change your life? Let's go and get started. Welcome. You've made it this far. You've taken a powerful step forward by grabbing this ebook and opening it up. That might seem small, but it's actually a huge step in the right direction. You're already making moves to change your life, and that's something to be proud of. I want to share something with you that completely transformed my life, and it can transform yours too. No matter what you're trying to change, whether it's losing weight, building better relationships, becoming more active, or silencing that inner critic, it all starts in one place, your mind. You see, we often focus on the behavior, the eating, the snapping at loved ones, the endless scrolling through our phones. But what if I told you that those behaviors aren't the real problem? The real problem is the neural pathways in your brain that have been trained to repeat the same habits over and over again. But here's the good news. You can retrain those pathways. You can lift the needle off the old track and set it on a new one. You can break free from autopilot mode and choose a new path, one that aligns with the life you want to live. And that's what this ebook is all about. It's not about quick fixes or band-aid solutions. It's about going deep into your mind, your thoughts, and the patterns that have kept you stuck, and learning how to rewire your brain for lasting change. Because once you change your brain, you can change your life. So let's take a look at and understand exactly how our brain works. Your brain is a powerful, intricate network of billions of neurons that communicate through electrical and chemical signals. Every thought, emotion, and action is the result of these signals traveling along neural pathways, connections that are shaped and reinforced by repetition. Think of your brain as a dense forest with countless trails. The more you walk a particular path, the more defined it becomes, making it easier and quicker to travel. This is where neuroplasticity comes in. Neuroplasticity is the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. It means that your brain isn't a fixed entity. You can actually rewire it by consciously choosing new thoughts, behaviors, and patterns. If you consistently practice new ways of thinking, you can carve out new neural pathways, making those new patterns stronger and more automatic over time. Essentially, you can retrain your brain to respond differently to triggers, break old habits, and adopt healthier, more empowering behaviors. Neuroplasticity is the science behind why change is always possible, no matter your age or your past experiences. So let's take a peek of what's going on in our brain. The brain is a bustling city with different neighborhoods, each responsible for specific functions. So the frontal lobe, that's your decision-making area, your emotional regulation and planning. Your parietal lobe is the sensory processing, spatial awareness. Temporal lobe is your memory, language, auditory, and processing. The cerebellum is all about balance, coordination, and posture. Your amygdala is responsible for your emotional regulation and your fear response. And your hippocampus is responsible for memory formation. Let's face it, we are all on autopilot mode. Have you ever driven somewhere and arrived without remembering the drive? You know the route so well that your brain goes blank. Your hands grip the wheel, your eyes scan the road, but your mind is somewhere else. Before you know it, you're there. That's autopilot mode. And it doesn't just happen when you're driving. It happens every day in your mind, in your life, and in your habits. Some other examples? You're at work, overwhelmed with emails and deadlines. You feel the tension building in your chest. Without even thinking, you reach for a candy bar. That's autopilot. Or you're in a heated argument with your partner. You feel that familiar surge of anger and say something you instantly regret. Again, automatic. Or you're at a party surrounded by people and you start feeling socially anxious. You grab another drink. Maybe it's your third. Another auto response. These moments of automatic behavior aren't accidents. They're well-worn grooves in your brain created over time through repeated patterns of thought and behavior. So why does our brain like routine? Our brains are master of efficiency. They're wired to conserve energy by defaulting to familiar patterns, routines, and thought processes. This is why even when you consciously want to make a change, your brain often pulls you back to what it knows best, the comfortable, the predictable, the familiar. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to keep you safe. In your brain's world, familiarity equals safety, even if those familiar patterns are negative or self-destructive. Unfortunately, your brain doesn't come with an instruction manual. From childhood, we've learned behaviors, habits, and ways of thinking based on our experiences and the message we receive from others. If some of those messages are negative, saying you're not good enough, you'll never succeed, you can't do this, the brain accepts them as truth and reinforces them through repetition. Your brain can't distinguish between what you tell it and what's actually true. So it will take those negative thoughts and run them like a script. The more you repeat them, the stronger those neural pathways become. So, the good news, just as your brain learned those unhelpful patterns, it can unlearn them and create new, empowering ones through conscious effort, repetition, and consistent practice. This is the essence of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on new thoughts, beliefs, and actions. You can teach your brain to embrace change, step out of the comfort zones, and adopt healthier patterns that align with the life you truly want to live. So let's fix the mind, not the behavior. If you're like most people and say you're trying to lose weight, you've tried a dozen diets, maybe a weight loss program or two, detoxes, and even fitness challenges. Maybe you even lost some weight, but the results didn't last and you gained it back, maybe a little bit more. Why? Because you were trying to fix the behavior instead of the brain. Diets focus on food, not the habit. Detoxes focus on the body, not the mind. Fitness challenges focus on movement, not mindset. But here's the thing, your brain is running the show. Until you address the habit loop in your brain, you're just treating the symptoms, not the cause. So now we find ourselves in a habit loop. So let's really get specific here. Say you do want to lose weight. So you download a meal plan, clear out your pantry, and commit to working out 5 days a week. But by day 3, you're sitting on the couch with a tub of ice cream, wondering what happened to all that motivation from a few days ago. Why? Because you were trying to change the behavior without changing the brain. The real issue isn't the food, it's the habit loop that's been running in your brain for years. So here's the trigger. You feel stressed or overwhelmed. The behavior? You eat something sweet, salty, or comforting. The reward? Your brain gets that hit of dopamine, that feel-good hormone, which temporarily reduces stress. Each time you repeat this loop, your brain reinforces the connection between stress and food. The more you do it, the more you're strengthening your neural pathway, and the harder it is to get out of the loop. Research suggests it takes on average 21 to 30 days to form a new habit. But to fully rewire the brain and make this habit automatic, It can possibly take up to 66 days or longer, depending on the complexity of the behavior and the level of consistency. The key is daily repetition and reinforcement, which strengthens new neural pathways over time. Let's meet Jessica. She's living on autopilot. She's 38 and a mom of two and constantly stuck in autopilot mode. Her day is a predictable loop of reactions and habits. In the morning, she wakes up exhausted. Before she even opens her eyes, her brain plays the same script. I'm so tired. Why didn't I sleep better? I shouldn't have had wine last night. I have too much to do today. Her brain is already overwhelmed, so she grabs the sugary coffee and muffin, craving that dopamine hit to get her going. By midday at work, she's drowning in emails and the stress is building. Her shoulders are tight and her jaw is clenched. Without thinking, she reaches for a bag of chips and mindlessly snacks at her desk. Her brain is seeking comfort, and she's following the path of least resistance, the same path she's walked 1,000 times before. And in the evening, at home, her kids are bickering, the house is a mess, and she feels like she's about to explode. Then her husband asks, "What's for dinner?" She snaps, "Can't you figure that out yourself?" Later that night, she feels guilty. She pours a glass of wine to take the edge off, ignoring the nagging voice that says, "You shouldn't be drinking every night." But Jessica has successfully trained her brain to become more efficient at playing those old tracks and doesn't even ask her permission anymore. How we broke Jessica's loop was with pattern disruption and bilateral movements. We taught Jessica how to identify the trigger, recognizing her emotional triggers, stress, exhaustion, frustration, and sometimes even happiness. And two, we disrupted the pattern. Before reaching for a glass of wine, we would have her do some butterfly taps, as pictured here. It's an EMDR technique of using a form of bilateral stimulation, and it helps disrupt thought patterns. So she would do that for 30 times to snap herself out of autopilot mode. And three, we worked with her to rewire the pathways. Jessica will go brush her teeth. Say she wants a glass of wine. We would have her go brush her teeth with her non dominant hand, causing a distraction, and it completely confused her brain, as well as activating both sides of her brain and disrupting her habitual responses. And meet Tom. He was living in a loop. 42, he's been a smoker for over 20 years. He tried everything from patches, gum, hypnosis, and nothing worked. Why? Because Tom was only addressing behavior, not the underlying neural pathway. So, how we broke him out of his loop is with pattern disruption and bilateral movements, same as we did with Jessica. So, he would identify the trigger, and he realized his biggest triggers were boredom and stress. So then we would address those situations and disrupt the pattern. Instead of lighting up, he would clap his hands 3 times to snap himself out of autopilot. Then he took 3 deep breaths, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Then we would rewire the pathways. Tom did bilateral movements like tapping his shoulders, just like Jessica would, and alternatively, while repeating a new mantra, "I am stronger than this craving." These are actual real life experiences and scenarios of our clients. However, to protect their privacy and confidentiality, we changed their names and the photos. So here are some ways to rewire and retrain. You have to retrain your brain to respond differently to triggers. First, identify the trigger. What starts that habit loop? What's doing it? And then you catch and interrupt the pattern. And you disrupt that autopilot response by doing something else, hopefully physical or bilateral movements. And rewire the pathway by installing a new, healthier response. So techniques to retrain your brain are pattern disruption, bilateral movements, visualization, gratitude journaling, affirmations. Those are all wonderful things that can help change your thought process and interrupt your pattern and loops. We have given you a few examples for how to do these things. And just by practicing and coming up with some things just to change your responses to things and get your brain busy on something else that it's craving, that is definitely the key. What else is the key? Is consistency. Think of your brain like a muscle. You wouldn't expect to get fit by going to the gym once or twice, and the same principle applies to rewiring your mind. Neuroscience shows that repetition is essential for creating and reinforcing new neural pathways. Each time you repeat a thought, behavior, or action, you're sending electrical signals through your brain. These signals travel along specific neural pathways, strengthening the connections each time they're activated. This process is called synaptic plasticity, the strengthening or weakening of synapses, the connections between the neurons, based on usage. When you consistently practice a new behavior or thought pattern, you're effectively building a stronger, more defined path in your brain, making it easier for the brain to default to the new pattern in the future. It's like walking through tall grass. The first time it's hard and awkward, but the more you walk that path, the clearer and easier it becomes to follow. However, if you don't repeat the new pattern, the old, well worn pathways will remain dominant. This is why occasional efforts to change don't stick. Your brain is wired to conserve energy, so it will always choose the path of least resistance, the habit or thought pattern that has been practiced the most. Consistency isn't just recommended, it's crucial. You have to repeatedly practice the new thought, behavior, or response until it becomes the new automatic response. Over time, as the new pathway strengthens, the old, unhelpful one begins to fade, and that's when true formation occurs. So, the next time a craving or one of those habits pops up, one, identify it, and two, disrupt it by doing something different. Say every time you are craving a late night snack, go brush your teeth. That's disrupting it, right? And guess what? Maybe you'll have really clean teeth. Your dentist will be happy. Practice some bilateral movements, windmill stretches or tapping on each shoulder. Anything that engages both sides of the brain is very beneficial. Also, get your journal out and do some gratitude journaling. Maybe do some meditation, mindful meditation or prayer, and practice visualization. Visualize what your life would look like without this habit. So, are you ready to rewire and change your life? At White Birch Wellness, we specialize in helping people break old patterns and create new positive pathways. If you're ready to transform your thinking and change your life, reach out to us today. Hey, we're not trying to sell you our services. Well, maybe a little. We just know how hard it is to be consistent and to get this right and make change possible. But the good news is that it doesn't take long to implement lasting change. A few coaching sessions or a 30-day program can usually do the trick. So visit whitebirchwellness.com to learn more about cognitive coaching and our 30-day brain training program, or call 716-405-0099, or you can click to book a free, no obligation consultation. The link's right on our website. Thank you for joining and enjoy.